What shocked me the most when I first moved to Singapore wasn't just how clean and safe it was how lost I felt even though everyone was speaking English. Hi, I'm Kimchi, and I might have been traveling a little too much for my own good, but today's video is a bit different because I'm gonna share what it was really like moving to Singapore at the age of 18 for college and living there for almost 10 years. From language barriers to cultural quirks, this is the story of my biggest culture shocks.
Singapore and Manchester, the current local time is 20 minutes past 7 in the morning, that's 7:20. In a few minutes time, we commence our initial descent into Singapore based on a current estimate.
So here's the deal. Before moving to Singapore, I had never even been to the country. I got accepted to the National University of Singapore, shout out to NUS, and I had about 3 months to pack up my life and move away from my family and friends. So back then, the internet wasn't like now. Remember the time when you had to disconnect the landline just to use the internet? Yeah, I came from that age. I barely knew what Singapore looked like, how big it was, and what language people spoke. All I knew was that it was one of the cleanest countries in the world, a first world country with top-notch education, but that's about it. And sure, all of that was actually true, but the reality hit hard. The first few months were honestly rough, not in a bad way, but confusing. I mean, Singaporeans speak English, but it's Singaporean English, aka Singlish. It is this really unique mix of English, Mandarin, Malay, and the local slang. So even though I technically understood the words, most of the time I had no idea what was being said, and it was heavily accented. Like people would say, can or not? Walao. Okay, yeah. I'm like, what does it even mean? And I didn't speak any Chinese dialects or Malay, so when I was ordering food at the canteen or at the hawker centers, I had no idea what was being said. Whatever they said, I just nodded and hope for the best. So when school started, things got a little bit easier, like this tiny bit. But still, my major was communications and new media, and how was I supposed to learn about the media if I couldn't communicate? But over time, things improved. I made friends who spoke with more Americanized accents, and being in group chats with my classmates really taught me the way how they spoke and wrote casually. And that's how I learned the la, the lore, the sia. So yeah, the first year and a half was pretty rough, mostly because of the language. Culturally, it wasn't too bad because we are all Asians, so there are some similarities there. Food-wise, it was pretty similar. We all eat rice with chopsticks. However, there are some differences. In Viet cuisine, we do eat a lot of veggies. We basically eat grass. Well, I'm joking, but am I? Whereas Singaporean food, like Chinese food, Malay food, is a bit more oily and has less vegetables. Anyways, by my third year, things started to turn around. I got an internship at WWF Singapore. Well, not the wrestling one, but the Worldwide Fund for Nature. And that was a game changer because I met people from all over, from Singapore, China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia, and India. English became more standardized, and we do embrace the Singaporean English aspect of it. I even picked up the local slang naturally, things like can one, or why like that lah? Okay lah. Walao, why so late? Hey yo, why you so kasu? I mean, it sounds so silly now that I don't live there anymore, but whenever I visit, it all comes back like muscle memory. Now let's talk about safety. Singapore is seriously one of the safest places I have ever lived. I used to walk around at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning with my headphones on, no problem. Now compare that to New York or Houston, I just would never do that. So there were pros and cons to that. The con is that Singapore kind of turned me into this naive little sheep when I first moved to New York. I had no idea how things were so different and how I really had to change the way I think and function to be able to walk around safely in the city. And then there is this this whole law-abiding thing in Singapore, people do follow the rules. You do see people jaywalking in Singapore, but it does not happen often. Whereas in New York, do you even know that jaywalking is legal in the city and is practically part of the culture? Oh, and about the cleanliness part, Singapore is definitely so much cleaner than New York City. Even kids can tell the difference. So do you know that chewing gum has been banned in Singapore since 1992? Well, not just selling, but also chewing. I totally get where they're coming from. Like, people used to stick gums on subway sensors, elevator buttons, and even inside the keyholes. And that would never fly in Singapore. But the city is definitely not spotless. If you have ever walked around hawker centers, you see some mess, mostly the food scraps. And those blackbirds, well, I'm not sure, even though I lived there for almost 10 years. I think they are crows, but let me know. And even the pigeons were just flying around, trying to pick at the leftovers. They're pretty much rats of the sky. So yeah, moving to Singapore at the age of 18 was pretty much a culture shock, but it has shaped me in ways that I'll always be grateful for. Have you ever had a big culture shock experience? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this story time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow along for more life and travel adventures. See you in the next one.